Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games, news, and what's fun. I'm Max, and with me is someone who has been waiting for animal handling, animal husbandry, all that kind of thing in SWTOR for a very long time, and maybe got it now. We'll see how much it actually got delivered, but my co-host Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I mean, I know you're kind of laughing at me, but I was feeling very happy while I was rescuing those baby animals and nursing them back to health.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah, although it's
a little burst of happiness.
It's a relatively quick, catch them, fix them up, nurse them back to health, and release them back into the wild.
Yep.
But I was also thinking though that there's a second part of this release that is kind of robotic animal handling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we'll talk about too, which is Bessi, the basilisk droid.
Yep.
But before we get into all the good SWTOR stuff with SWTOR Update 7.5, we've got a couple other things in the news. Why don't we get ourselves into that?
Good news, everyone!
Big news. Last night at 8 p.m. Central, which seemed like a late time, Disney Plus released the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. So that is out there. We're not going to talk about it today. We'll probably get into some first impressions next week. I did watch the first episode, but not the second episode. So we'll try to maybe get through 2 or 3 episodes next week and just give some high-level, non-spoilery first impressions.
So should we think that the late hour was Disney trying to make it clear it's not a kids show?
I don't know. I don't know what they were. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing with it, and I don't know if I would say it's not a kids show. I mean,
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's not in a. We'll reserve all commentary.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't know what's going on. I don't really know what's going on there. We'll see. I gotta. It has some relatively serious stuff, but even like. Relatively dramatic stuff happens even before the credits, the title screen comes up. Okay, let's just stop. What else we got in the news?
We're coming up close to Summer Game Fest 2024, like really close, like starting on Friday. And that is basically kind of been a competitor to E3, but now that E3 is no longer, this is what we have for June this year. And it's a Jeff Keighley thing. If you ever watch the Game Awards, then you know Jeff Keighley. And so it's going to be a combination of live stream stuff and then some stuff for media and influencers to try new games. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm planning to watch some of it on Friday.
Right. I didn't have this on my calendar, so I'm glad that I noticed that it was coming. It should give us some interesting news items to at least, hopefully, give us some news items.
I'm kind of curious about the very first topic, accessibility, because I wonder if they'll talk about. I wonder what they'll talk about because I want to know what devs keep in mind when they're thinking about accessibility, and maybe I'm hoping for an answer to your question of why is everyone so into making things spider free.
Arachnophobia. I mean, there's we have blind players. We have, players that have mobility issues.
Right.
And then the arachnophobes is I feel like the things that people go after. Why is the pie chart like 3/4 arachnophobia features for accessibility? And then there's like vision impairment and mobility impairment. It's like,
I think it's because it's an easier thing to fix.
Yeah, maybe a lower bar.
An easier.
And maybe even like a more fun thing for a game developer to fix, because they can like, what could we replace our spiders with? Oh, let's replace them with gumdrops, and I'll model up some gumdrops, and we'll have little gumdrops running around. And
I think they replace them with pretty horrible things.
Yeah, I don't know. What did they replace them with in Grounded? I forgot. They were doing something in Grounded.
Well, it wasn't gumdrops. I remember that.
No. Some of them, it was just like a little blobby creatures. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, Bing. I'm trying to get used to Edge. And I just typed in grounded spiders. It doesn't know that I mean grounded the game. Now I've got like pages and pages of stuff on spiders.
Yeah. And that now that maybe that'll be part of your feeds and
Right. I'm looking just for me.
It's not, its context engine isn't absolutely correct yet. What to do if you're afraid of spiders? Spiders? Let's show you more spiders. Here's lots of spiders. No, that's not, that's the opposite
Exactly.
of what I was looking for. Thank you. So yeah, Sema also found, for people that are out there, maybe we can put this link somewhere, or I'm sure you can just do, you can type in not spiders, but when is Summer Game Fest into a search engine. And it will be streaming live on Friday on YouTube. So that seems to be the primary place for the stream. And so the page is already up, the YouTube stream. It looks like chat is already up. Oh, subscribers only.
Yeah, it is.
So you can subscribe to the channel. Do you have to pay for what happens? I'm not going to hit subscribe right now.
No, there is a way to pay on YouTube, but I believe it's called join.
Oh.
I think subscribed is just send me notifications. You don't pay for that.
Click that. Well, subscribe to our channel then. Yeah, no, yeah, I guess we have we have subscribers. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally found them. They are just blobs. They do kind of look like gumdrops with eyeballs.
Like and subscribe, ring that bell. Okay. So do that for our channel and then also watch the Summer Games Fest in between watching our channel over and over. Little extra fun, weird news that I found. Apparently, and I have thoughts and opinions on this, but apparently IKEA is going to open a storefront in Roblox. So they're going to open a storefront in Roblox, and they're going to open a storefront to such a degree that they are currently hiring for like $19 an hour, $20 an hour. They're hiring employees to man the store in the Roblox world.
I love this story. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's going to fail. That's my take on it. But
we don't even know what they're trying to do.
Well, I've got there's pictures of it here, but yes, true.
One of the job openings is to work in the cafe and serve virtual meatballs. Like,
okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Like I'm saying, I don't know. How can you know that it's going to fail if you don't even know how they think they're going to make money?
I would, the reason I would think these kinds of things, so I've seen these kinds of things in lots of places many times over the years. I've seen them in all the way back to Second Life. I've seen them in Decentraland more recently. I've seen them in a bunch of these like virtual worlds and online environments, and it's the fun virtual storefront. And the big business, somebody on the innovation team will get a bug and say, "Hey, we could be innovative. Let's build our storefront in Roblox, and everybody there they can interact with the brand, and they can we'll be seen as innovators. We'll have a virtual environment." And
again, hard to measure.
Yes, and what typically happens is they're a ghost town. Maybe a couple people go check it out once, and it's not a game, so people don't actually go back there. And then Roblox, to me, seems like the least useful environment for them to try this, because isn't the average age of a Roblox player like 8 years old?
Get them when they're young.
So they're not buying any. They don't even want anything that IKEA has. I guess meatballs. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not like IKEA doesn't even have like toys or plushies or anything.
I guess then when they're 18 and they move out of town and they are buying furniture for their first apartment, they remember fondly the little sofa they had in Roblox.
For 10 years, they're going to operate this storefront in Roblox to get the next generation of college students to buy their flat pack furniture.
That's my theory.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie.
Which is mine and belongs to me.
And I believe that it is going to not go anywhere. I think they will, at their annual meeting and in their discussions at a business conference. They'll be able to get up and do a keynote about how they're embracing the virtual economy, and nothing will happen. And if you go and visit it, it will be completely empty.
I'm kind of disappointed that the employees have to be in the UK or Ireland.
I wonder, that's interesting. I wonder if that's for tax purposes. Like if they were in the EU or the US, there would be both employment and tax implications to that.
Maybe, or they, it's just the first part of their international rollout.
Ireland is the headquarters of a lot. It's
a lot of call center stuff.
And a lot of international businesses because of the tax implications of what it used to mean to be in Ireland. But you can't really do that as much anymore. They sort of got rid of those loopholes across the European continent between Britain and Ireland and the EU. And you don't get those kind of tax breaks anymore, unfortunately. And then just to finish it off, a couple notes on hot game releases, even this week. ESO Gold Road, their Gold Road expansion is now live. That went live today, June 5th. And Destiny's The Final Shape expansion went live yesterday. So 2 of them that are out there that are sort of game changers for both of those. Destiny 2, I think, is a little bit more of a game changer for that game in terms of changing balance and loadouts and meta and that kind of thing. Whereas ESO's expansions tend to be very horizontal, quite good content, new stuff to do, new places to visit, a new zone, but they tend to be very horizontal. There's always a little bit of a change to the meta, but it's not, they never introduce like higher tiers of gear or anything like that. There is a little bit of a spin on the way you can create your own specs in a new way, and I don't even completely understand it yet. From what I've heard, it's almost a way to spin up a hybrid spec in an interesting way somehow. I do want to look into it. Maybe I'll spend some time over the weekend taking a look. All right. As always, thanks to all of you out there for following and listening. If you need any of the subscribe links for our audio or video, they're all on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here on Twitch or live in our Discord, where we talk about fun stuff pretty much all day, every day. Little notes on the progress we're making in all of the various games that we play. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for a big family-friendly gaming community, check out Alea Iacta Est. That's the gaming guild we play on for a lot of these MMOs. We have a big group that's in ESO and has a fun night in ESO every Friday night. And Dan Kinia, who's one of our wonderful officers, leads that every Friday night. She's great. If you want to check out ESO, that's a great way to do it. Very supportive. We've got a couple people in there who will give you lots of starting equipment and that kind of thing. It's really amazing community. Also, Star Wars: The Old Republic on Starforge.
Yep.
Starforge and Shea Vizsla. Boy, I'm forgetting. I got to be careful not to rewind in history because the server has been called different things over the course of the past 10 years. But we've got Imperial and Republic guilds on both of those servers, and new people join in all the time. More new people in the past week. And our fun stuff happens all throughout the week. Tuesday night is in particular. If you're new to the game and new to our guild, definitely jump in. Or if you're not, if you're on Starforge at all, come join us on Tuesday nights. We'll talk a little bit about what we did this week on Tuesday later in the show. All right, but now we're going to talk deep into Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Bet you didn't see this coming!
Why did my game changer button not work? I'm going to have to go relink that audio somewhere.
Is it on your 5 key?
Throw back to the pre-show. Sema's previous keyboard became sentient and is now off on an epic adventure around the world because she spilled coffee on it. If you spill a drink on a computer, I learned this in the 80s. On a robot or on a computer, if you spill a drink on it, then magic happens. It becomes sentient and alive, or portals open to other dimensions, and people come visit you and things like that, or you get sucked into the virtual world. So yeah. How are you even going to clean coffee out of the keyboard? Are you going to? I heard you can sometimes put keyboard, old style keyboards you could put in the dishwasher. So how are you going to clean it?
I'm going to pop off all the keys, and I'm going to see if the top part will easily come off. And then I'm just going to look at it and then see what comes to me next.
Give it a visual pat down.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds...
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to dry. But then if it looks like crusty or I see broken wires or something, or burned spots.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm just going to wash.
Burst capacitors. That's what we used to have to look at in my 8086. I had to make sure there weren't any burst capacitors. I don't think that really works that way as much anymore, but yeah, that sounds good. Well, you better get it working because you're going to need that 5 key.
It is a membrane keyboard, so I have high hopes.
Yeah.
And it's perfect timing too, because perfect time to actually do this because, like I was telling Max earlier, now I'm doing it and with a chance of fixing it, whereas before I was going to do it, it would be with a chance of breaking it.
Well, just
like if I just
dip it a couple times in your vat of acetone. You have a vat of acetone, right? As we all do. Oh wait. Yeah. So game update 7.5, Desperate Defiance. We're not going to talk story spoiler. We can talk high level overview, like what we've seen in the trailer so far. Both of us have played through most or all of the story. Next week, we'll probably go deep into the story. So maybe we'll talk next week on the story of what we see in 7.5 and maybe a little bit of the intro story of the first episode or two of The Acolyte. Maybe we'll do a whole little Star Wars story hour next week. But this week, we're definitely going to talk about the additional features that came with 7.5 and the fun that we're having with it so far. So just so people remember, at a high-level overview, we did get story. It's about 2 hours of story. People may claim that it's shorter. I think I recorded it as I went through, and I wasn't wasting a lot of time. I have 2 hours of recording of me going through the story. You also got, as part of that story, the update to Hutta. So Hutta was completely revisited in terms of the graphics and the special effects and the atmospheric effects. It looks pretty good, I think. On
the one hand, it's subtle, but on the other hand, it's striking.
Yes.
The effect is striking.
Yeah. Okay. And then we got the Basilisk, which we're going to talk about, and the Dantooine Spring Festival, which we're going to talk about. But I don't want to skip over that while we're on it. Let's talk about Hutta. Yeah. So it went from. Let me pull up. I'll try to pull up some pictures while we're talking about it too. But it went from a really cartoony look to the place, very like yellow, like neon yellow of everything in the waters, like glowing. I liked it. It's very stylized. It's still stylized, but I'd say it's a step more. I would say not necessarily more realistic, but more complex and layered style.
Yeah,
is what I would say.
When I heard people saying that, it's like I never really thought Hutta was too yellow. I thought it was all yellow, but I didn't think it was like neon yellow or anything like that. But then I saw the new Hutta and I'm like, oh, okay, I see this difference informs me about what they actually meant. And I agree.
Yeah. The other thing I think that is pretty striking is the atmospherics. So let's see. Cal, today in Tor, put together a video which shows some of the old versus the new. So thank you, Cal. I'm going to mute this and play it so we can see some of the old spaceport versus the new spaceport. So you could say that it's like more flat color palette. It's a little bit more bland. I think what we're getting, though, is many more layers of features and volumetric fog. And, I think it's looking really good. And the textures are updated and it looks like you could see like the fog is moving here. So I saw a couple people post.
You did a great job of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially being like in the exact spot and matching it up like that.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Cal's a treasure.
He's a great resource. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I saw a couple people post like on Reddit. Look how bland that it looks. When you just put like a screenshot side by side, it could look a little bit more flat and bland. When you're there, because everything is now You've got volumetric atmospheric effects. You've got better textures as you're getting up close, as you're walking around and moving around. I kind of like it quite a bit better. So sure, Forster says I prefer the original. I could see I could see people liking the original too.
Mhm.
But like here, the lighting, this texture on this tree and the texture on the foliage is much more detailed, and the trees are much more detailed. I definitely prefer the new way on most of it. It does look dismal, but I
And
think it's supposed to.
there's different angles, like when you're in the town and stuff, it doesn't look this foggy and this gray.
Yeah. Right. Right. And when you're like inside the cantina and that kind of thing. And when you're live rolling around on your speeder is when you're getting the full experience, not just, a static screenshot. But anyway, it might not be for everybody. I still think the work that they did on Voss really took that place to the next level. Ord Mantell is looking really good. I like them updating the planets in this way. The next place that I'd like to see them put some of this work and effort is into the character models. The newest characters that they're adding to the game, like Sahar and her brother, it's striking how good those character models look. And then when I see my dumb face in the cutscene next to Sahar, and I have like 1/10 of the polygons and, a tenth of the texture on me, it's a bit jarring from that perspective. I would love the character models to be updated too. I know that's a ton of work though. So let's talk about one other thing in the story that I thought is interesting and that people will experience. That's not going to spoil anything, but people are complaining about it as well, and I could see people complaining about it, but I don't mind. I think they did a fine job of mixing voiced story versus the KOTOR style, letterboxed text choices parts of the story. And what they did here is rather than have like half of the story be completely voiced and then you go into a segment of the story or side quests or things that are completely non-voiced, they meshed it together. They mixed it in. So there's voice, and then you might get to a scene where some of the dialogue is picking the numbers off the screen and your character's not voicing it, but Sahar is still voiced. I didn't mind that. I liked that.
Mhm.
So did you, did you even notice that, Sema, or did
I
it
did. I
strike you?
did notice that sometimes my character is voiced and sometimes my character wasn't, and I didn't mind it at all. And I felt like as they make moves like this, if it allows them to do more, I'm all in.
The thing that people forget that anytime they voice a character, like for a cutscene, they have to go into the studio for 48 recording sessions. 48.
Right.
Because there's 16 voices for the characters, because there's eight on the no. Is it 48? Did I multiply that? Is it 24? I think it's
a
24.
number.
24. Because there's four on the Imperial and 4 on the Republic, so that's 8, but there's 3 languages, so there's 24, not 48. And so Forster's saying you think they could AI deepfake voices? Boy, I think the entire industry, while that would be like useful, compelling content for us, and they may have the full rights to do that, the entire industry and the entire world would rebel and cancel them if they did that. Because AI took our gerbs. So the alternative is we don't get it at all. So it didn't actually turk any gerbs. But we will not get that, I am sure. But yeah, 24 recording sessions makes all of that kind of thing very, very expensive. So 2 hours of content and having to have a little bit of those conversations interspersed, I thought it flowed quite well. I wasn't taken out of the story. I didn't find it weird to be in those situations, and then to have voice bookending it and voice in the middle and your character voice like before and after in other parts of the scenes. I think it worked really well. And it made me think that it wasn't like my character was never going to speak again. which I do feel in some other situations. So something to keep an eye on, get your feelings on it. I'd be interested to hear what other people think. I'm glad that they can use that cleverly in that kind of way to get more content out there. And we'll talk about the story next week. I know people always want more for story. I think they did a good job, and it'll be fun to talk about it. What do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about Bessi, or you want to talk about Springfest? And by
No.
you, I mean you, because
oh, I can't talk about Bessi because I haven't started it yet.
All right, so you kick off the Springfest. I'll show a little video of it. But
Okay.
You kick off, and then I'll show.
So between the story and the new festival, the Abundance Festival, and the new venture system, which is the Basilisk Droid, I decided to go with this Spring Festival first, to spend my game time there first, because it's 28 days and then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my decision process. And then I have since started the game story, but going back to the Abundance Festival, which, by the way, is a lot of conquest points, because just about everything you do in there counts for conquest as well.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a story. You get sent to Dantooine. And you talk to a guy there, and you're going there for the Abundance Festival. But the Abundance Festival, are we telling the story on this?
Yeah, we're gonna tell the story on this. It's so minor spoilers, I guess, but it's
yeah.
If you're not into it now, you better quit TikTok, because it's gonna be gone. We can't wait to talk about the story, because it'll be over. Ubog Ozo, that's the dude.
And he tells you that the festival is in trouble, and specifically his farm is in trouble, so he enlists your aid. And you go to his farm and you find some corruption of some sort, and you end up having to fight off some corrupted, clear his various little parts of his farm, clear them of the corrupted
beasts. Yeah, corrupted beast. Yeah, and these little dark side corruption clouds where they appear out of.
But the kind of the main flavor of the festival is, once you do that, then once you do enough of that, or get to a certain point, then you open up these quests to make pie, to go fishing with a fish droid thing, and to grow things. So the making pie is a little bit similar to how cooking works in the Feast of Prosperity, except for it's not, they tell you what you're after. There's no figuring it out. So it's actually very easy and kind of relaxing to go and do the baking quest.
Yeah.
And on top of that, speaking of baking, there's 4 different kinds of pies. You pick the kind of pie you want. But then there's a weekly for sampling each of the 4 pies. So the last step, once you bake a pie, then you take it out on the table and you put it on the table, and then anyone can eat that pie. I'm pretty sure I know they have a finite number of bites to them, so you can eat your own pie, or you can eat if somebody else has put a pie down. If there's pies on all 4 tables, then you can complete the weekly right then. You might have to come back the next day, or send another character there to make another pie if you haven't eaten,
right?
All 4. But you can do it the next day. On Shea Vizsla, I have had to spread it over days, but I haven't had to on Starforge. And by spread it over days, I just mean check later for the pie. I could always bring a second character, and bake a pie. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Then there's the maypole dancing, which is similar to that meditation thing that was part of Galactic Seasons. With which Galactic Season was that? Anyway,
the last one with
when you get close enough to the electronic dancing pole, you get a special key.
It's hard to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dancing at the pole. So pole dancing is now in SWTOR. Woohoo! But it's not. I was thinking that it would be the way the meditation worked, where the more people that were around, the faster it went. It's not that. It's just a flat 90 seconds.
Yeah.
You just click on it. And
Yeah,
just
you
90
just click
seconds.
it and then go refill your coffee or whatever, because nothing actually happens while you're doing this. It's not like you'll miss a cutscene or anything like that.
Right. And your companion will dance next to you too, and it's just a set dance. Just you dance, and everyone dances, and everyone has a laser beam connected to the pole, and you all just dance.
And then you feel festive.
That one I think is a daily. That one I think you do every day.
Yeah.
The
The pie
pies is daily.
and the fish. Yeah.
And the fishing is daily. Yeah.
Right.
And then there are a couple once a week. So only 4 times. Well, you could do it on multiple characters, but like this. So this, I think what I'm showing now is the seeds.
Yeah. So basically there's a quest that sends you to a planet. Last week it was Nar Shaddaa, this week it's Mek-Sha, to get seeds. And in this version of it, you also have to go to Tatooine.
Okay.
But I think the Mek-Sha one, you can finish up the whole thing on Mek-Sha. I'm not sure. But basically you go through some shenanigans to get your seeds and you get them back to Dantooine, and then you can get your little droid to like prepare the soil and plant the seeds and water and fertilize and clear some more corruption beasts and then harvest. So that's your farming.
Yeah. That was a fine little planting, harvesting.
What I like about it is it's very smooth, like how you expect things to work, that's how they work. And they don't make you go, like there's 9 spots for each type of thing you're growing. They don't make you go boop, 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 boop for each one.
Yeah. Yeah, usually, yeah, there's a couple abilities that the droid has, like to water the plants, and it splashes water over like at least at least half of them.
And then like the fertilizer will do all 9 of them, and harvesting, it doesn't do all 9 of them, but it does as many as you need to complete the quest. So
yeah, and you don't even need to harvest all of them.
Right.
And then fishing, just so describe that, and then I want to talk about those weeklies and
okay, so fishing. Fishing is kind of interesting because you're basically just controlling a droid, but they do have you pop a cold one, put on some tunes, sit down on the, well, you're not sitting on the blanket.
No, it sits you down wherever you're at when you say sit down, you sit down there. Like when I did it yesterday, I actually positioned myself over the blanket for for accuracy.
Yeah. And so basically you just kind of direct this droid to try and get to one of the schools, and then the droid will pull up fish, or the droid will miss if the ring disappears before you get there. That's all.
Yep. And I think the smaller the ring, the slightly longer it lasts, is what it seemed like to me. But it's not. There's no timer or anything, so just keep doing it. Keep moving around. I had real. It's on the extra action buttons. And I had real problems trying to put them on actual buttons where it would work for, like if it was on the arrow keys, then it would actually be, you could actually just look at the screen, but instead I have to like click on each of the buttons.
Yeah, same here. I always have my F5 key bound to the first special action button, so I could F5 for that one. But I don't have a bunch of other buttons available for the rest. So yeah, I was just clicking on the screen as well.
It's very important to have the first one bound for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And to know where it is, especially for hut ball. So hut ball, throw the hut ball is the first button on the extra action buttons when it pops up, and you gotta have that one bound if you want to be a pro hut ball player. But yeah, then you get what? You collect your little fish, and then you put them back in the you put them back in the
it's the circle of life
distribution channel, and catch and release. It's a little catch and release. This is a very sustainable farm. Very nice little effort you got going on there. Because then the third thing again, which we mentioned in the pre-show, is the weekly for the animal rescue.
Yes.
me see if I got a
And that
video
was
of that describe
actually,
that, because that's really fun.
it was fun. Like, I wasn't completely looking forward to it because whenever I pick up, like, I'm sort of in the farm space and I pick up a quest that says, "Oh, go to Rishi," I feel like, I don't want to go to Rishi. But it's fun. You go and you go to Rishi and you pick up an animal that needs your care. I mean, you find it and it's got a broken wing or is malnourished or whatever, and you go to Tatooine and get one, and you go to Onderon and get a nerf. You get a Tauntaun on Tatooine and a nerf on, and then you bring them all back to the farm. You look them over, you diagnose them, you feed the one that's malnourished, you repair the wing, and you cleanse the nerve of his little poison or disease or whatever it is. And then once they get back to good health, you release them back into the wild also.
Yeah. You crate them up on the planet when you're collecting them, and then you crate them back up to get released back into the wild when you're done. A little sad that I didn't get a little ranch with, to collect a bunch of little animals that I get to just keep, but also nice that it's a little catch and release activity and you feel like you're really helping them out.
One of our guildies, Madula, mentioned that it's fun to, since there is there's a number of Tauntaun pets, and there's a Nerf pet, and there's a
Or a keet.
Yeah, or a keep pet. Like, if you pull one of them out, so that then people ask you, "How did you get?"
How did you keep it?
Yeah, right. Although what his point was, well, then if they like go looking into it, then they can find that old quest chain to get the Nerf pet, and that's a good thing too.
Right, exactly. Because all three of these are in-game
Yeah.
pets that you can do an in-game little quest line to
Yeah.
eventually get.
That's right.
One thing I thought that was interesting with this, and I think with the pies as well, is when you pick a pie to make and when you pick a pet to fix, they have you go over to a little table to do some research, and it's paper books laying on the
Right.
table.
Right.
That's how you look at the recipe and do the research. And I thought that was interesting that it's,
And apparently my memory is really bad because I have to look up the research every time.
yeah, how do I make this pie again? It's got 3 ingredients and I can't figure it out. And the ingredients are in the name of the pie. But nope, I need to look in my paper book every time. I guess I don't have a hollow pad of some kind that I could look at. But it's a farm, it's a rural operation, so maybe it's old school paper books that they've got here. So yeah, that is once a week. The seeds are once a week. Yeah, so the seeds, the pets, so the seeds and the pets are once a week. The fishing and the dancing are daily. What am I missing? Oh, I got them.
The
Pies are daily.
No, well, making a pie is a daily, but sampling the pie is a weekly.
And the laser pull. One thing to keep an eye out for, just we don't have to spoil it completely, and it's not really spoiling because again, not much happens, but there is a bit that's part of the intro story of the garden where you're learning about what the garden is and you're cleaning it up and you're basically getting the garden gifted to you from that Ordo guy or Ugo or whatever his name was. He's basically says to you, "I'm getting too old for this shit, Riggs," and he's gonna go retire, and he's just like gonna give this place to you, and you're like, I was a little hesitant because it's like full of like dark side corruption and dark side beasts, and he's like, "Nope, it's your farm now. Here you go." And I'm like, this feels like maybe this wasn't the best idea, but anyway. At the end of that chain, you'll get a holo call from someone. And the person you're getting a holo call from is a tie-in to the Copero Stronghold season story. So this is a person you will have met in the Copero Stronghold season story if you've done it all the way through. So if you get to that point and you're a little confused at who this person is, and if you don't know who she is, she complains about it. Anyway, that's where that tie-in is. Nobody knows yet if there will be a continuation of the story, because the story doesn't really go anywhere. You've discovered the dark side corruption. He gives you the farm, and then you go and do this stuff on the farm. Doesn't
You don't really solve the corruption. You just
Right.
kill a few corrupted beasts.
But the speculation is, and Cal in Today and Tour has commented elsewhere, a couple people believe that there is a continuation, maybe on the last week. There will be a finale of a little bit of a story. It's very light. It's not, it's not a big story, but it does have a little bit of a narrative associated with it, and maybe there will be some sort of narrative that, well, yeah, we were speculating. Maybe it's going to be a narrative that ends your time on the farm, because it's a 28-day event, and then I don't think we get to keep the farm or keep going here. So maybe he comes and takes it back and kicks you out. Or the idea I had is maybe
Curious to see.
the corruption gets so bad that it's going to take 11 months to clear the corruption back out for you to come back and spend some more time there, or what, I don't know. But maybe we'll get more then on what's going on. Not next week, but the week after, which will be the last week. 28-day event. And then this will be an annual event. It will continue in the future. This will going to be another one in their rotation of the annual events, not the periodic events like Agree and Requels, which are once every, happen every other week. But this will be one of the seasonal events, which is great. Oh, we didn't mention egg hunts. I forgot about that.
Oh, right.
So
I did too.
You get 2 planets, I believe, for egg hunts. And then they direct you to go to a zone on that planet. And then this I thought was clever. They're relatively big eggs. They're about half the size of your character. But they're out in that zone. They're everywhere in the zone. They're just sort of like hidden. You just sort of go and find them. But they're not in set locations. So you can't look up a guide and say, show me exactly where the 5 eggs are that I need to pick up.
Right.
They do spawn kind of randomly, and they're all over the place.
It didn't take me long to find them, so if I found them with little effort, anyone can, because I'm definitely not. I don't like those find the things with your eyeballs type of quests in general.
Yeah, but I've noticed them all over the place, even when I'm not on the quest.
Yeah.
So they're out and about. They're all over the place. I mean, they're relatively obvious. It's not a difficult hunt. So don't worry about it.
Have you looked at the vendor?
Yes, I think I have it in one of my videos too. The items on the vendor are relatively expensive. I will not get all of the items this season. If you did the event on 7 characters, I think if you did the entire event and all of the dailies and weeklies on 7 or 8 characters every week, or maybe not that many. I don't know. Somebody was doing some math. It's a lot. There's a lot on there. There's 2 full armor sets. There's mounts. There's decorations, a bunch of the decorations. I don't expect to, as I said, I don't expect to get everything off of that vendor, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to get...
I'm actually more than fine with it, because I've actually not decided, but I'm finding it more compelling to do content when there's still rewards available to me. If I...
Right.
When Conquest, when Galactic Seasons has Oricon or Onderon or one of those places, and I'm I already maxed out the rep on those. I wish, I almost wish I hadn't yet.
Right.
Because it's just another thing that can tick up.
So here's the vendor, and some of the the decorations. There's four versions of the supplies tables. So it's festival supplies on the table, and there's 4 different ones of those. So maybe you don't need them all.
Even if you do need them all, you have time. I mean, you can. It isn't never coming back.
Right. The armor set's not bad. The farmland speeder reminds me of just more of the old school land speeders. The blasters, I noticed, do come with a holster, so that's sort of nice. I kind of like there's two versions of the gear of the armor set. They're kind of like rugged, cool looking with the updated textures and the more, the sort of the baggier
Right.
cloth.
Yes, which I really like.
There's like a daytime one and the night shift one. And the night shift one has more of a jacket. There's a Mudhorn mount and a Mudhorn pet that you can get, a couple titles. But yeah, you will also potentially be getting the currency, which are I forgot what are they called? The Spring Harvest Festival ribbons.
Right.
Spring Abundance Festival ribbon. You will be getting those as random drops out in the world as well. Very few, but you'll see one pop up here and there.
Really?
You'll get a purple beam. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, I gotten a couple. Be like, oh, purple beam, and it's a festival ribbon. When you need 2,000 to get a Mudhorn pet, and you're getting like one or two at a time out in the world over the course of an hour, it's not really. It's not
Right,
very much of anything, but it reminds you that the event is going on. I think that's what it's for.
I've been doing the dailies, pretty much every day, but not across multiple characters so much. And I think I have around 2,000 currency now. So like maybe I could buy the pants.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because, I'll put the pants into some other outfit. A lot of people want to use different parts of different outfits together anyway.
So Shadow was asking in the chat room, and you said they don't really follow you when you collect the little pets. As you go out and rescue them from the worlds, when you bring them back to the Spring Festival, they do. So you'll have all three of the little pets following you until you bring them to the rescue area to put them in the pen. So I don't know though if you went to, I didn't take them to like my stronghold or something. If you could have like all three following, just never turn that in and have all three following you from that point on. I don't know. That's a good little test.
If you're completely heartless.
They are, right. They're sick and injured.
But hey.
So if you want them to follow you for your amusement, that's the dark side choice, I guess. Follow me, beast. No, get up. I see that you're faking it. You're faking your disease. Speaking of another pet that can follow you, let's go to the last bit of this expansion, which is a relatively significant system. It's called a venture, and it's a continuation of the story of Lane Vizsla. And Lane is the cousin. Did we remember? By we, I mean, did somebody else look up and correct me on, is Lane her cousin? I think Lane is Shay Vizsla's cousin.
Yeah, I think so.
Is either a cousin or niece or something like that. Anyway, Lane Vizsla, over the course of the 7.0 story, has been, has had like a little side story going on where the Hidden Chain and Hetakol's people on Runic were messing with and ruining the Basilisk, some remnants of Basilisk droids that they had found at the time. Lane recovered some modified parts of a Basilisk droid and has been trying to reassemble it. Over the course of sort of the story beat expansions, you've been helping her gather parts like a memory core to resurrect and repair what she's been working on, and that comes to fruition now. So Lane has a new little lab right by where her old lab is, and in fact, you don't need to have completed her story up to this point to start working on the venture in the new story. And in fact, if you have not on a character, you can go, it's sort of, there's a Schrodinger's multiverse thing going on where you can go to her old lab and talk to her there about like trying to start putting this together. And you can go across the hall to her new lab and talk to her there, where Bessi,
nice,
the B5, 10 or whatever it is, the Bessi droid, is B3S1. or Bessi, as she's colloquially called. The Bessi droid. So they added a whole new system to make this droid work. It will eventually become a companion, but that's eventually. So the new system is called a venture system. If you look in your legacy tab, there's a new entry on the left when you're looking down, sort of like the achievements, which is a little bit of a weird place to put it, but it's slotted in there as the ventures. So this is the first and only venture so far, but this is the Bessi venture, and it's an interface screen which says, okay, here's Bessi, here's the venture. Bessi has 3 potential roles and then 6 potential abilities per role, and she starts with none of them. So what Lane says is, what you need to do to train up Bessi is you need to take her out. You need to take her out and have her practice these abilities. Have her practice tanking, have her practice healing, have her practice DPS. You can only take her out for an hour at a time, and you need to spend a memory chip in order to do that. And there's a little bit of a story of the sort of the HK brain we stuck into an astromech from the previous story beat. He's back. He helps create those memory chips reluctantly, but he does. You can only get 1 memory chip a day. You can only get 10 per week. And you can only have a maximum of 20 in inventory. But that's plenty. So what you do is you spend 1 to get Bessi out, and then you get a few to start, but each time you get Bessi out and spend a memory chip, it gives you a little token that you open, and it will give you 2 training missions. It will be a role and a planet for each of those training missions. So it might say tanking training on Runic. And then what you do when you crack open that training mission, when you click on it and says, okay, go do 2 dailies. Go do two dailies on Runic. And the only companion you can use, in fact, I saw other people, and maybe they fixed it or changed it and said, oh, you could switch over to another companion before you finish and turn in with Bessi. I couldn't switch any other companions. When I had Bessi out for that hour, that was the only companion I could use. You can dismiss Bessi, you can put her back and get another companion, but then she's gone, I think, for that hour. Or maybe there's some tricky way to make it happen. But you're supposed to take her out and use her. So tanking on Runic, you go do 2 dailies. You have her as your tank companion for both of those dailies. She starts out with none of her abilities or maybe 1 ability. So remember, on the companion bar, there's the 6 or so abilities that every companion has. She's got none of them to start. So not only is she low influence, she has no abilities. So it's a little bit rough. It's a little bit rough to use it as a companion. You need to be prepared for that. And then you do get a little bit of a bonus for some of them, and it'll pop up in your quest log. You'll see it in the upper right. It'll say, if you do a heroic mission with Bessi, you get a little bit of a bonus. And it's just a little bit of a currency bonus. But again, it's going to be harder to do it, especially if you have a companion that's not in a role that you're used to and has no abilities, no influence, and you try to do a heroic on Runic, you might struggle a little bit. I was able to still do the heroics on my mercenary, but when I was like messing around doing junking Junker's Jots on Mech Shah with like a DPS companion on my assassin, I was having trouble. And I had to I got it done, but I had to cheese it quite a bit. There's 3 mini instances where you're fighting like a mini boss and like a couple groups of ads. I was like killing a couple ads and then like running out, and they wouldn't reset. So I could like run out and heal up and then go back in and kill a couple more and then run out. So I got through it. On my Merc, I can just go in there and like CC 1 of each of the packs and kill them and get it done pretty quick. It took a long time to get it done on my assassin. Anyway, so be prepared for that if you're going to try to do a heroic. But you do the training, you complete the training, and then you get a little reward when you complete the 2 heroics or whatever it's asking you to do, which includes currency. And the currency is 4 more currencies. We'll evaluate this in just a second, whether this was the easiest way to go about doing this. It took me a while to come up to speed on what was going on, but there's a currency for each of the roles. So you're getting like heal tokens and tanking tokens and DPS tokens. And then there is an overall currency. I forgot what that one's called. But in order to buy an ability, you need so much of the currency of the role specific currency and so much of the general currency, and then you can buy another role for her companion bar, for Bessi's companion bar. So what you're going to do over time, and each ability that you're buying gets more and more expensive over time. So it's going to take more and more days of training and more dailies and more unlocks to get each tier that you go up on Bessi. But that's it. So it's intended to take a long time. In fact, I think if you're doing it to the cap each week, it will still potentially take you something like 8 weeks or 10 weeks to get it done. And that's by design. This is intended to be a long-term venture. We also confirmed with Broadsword that there's no end date on this. You can do it as much as you want. And take as long as you want. And then they also have hinted that when you're all done and she's unlocked as a companion, there might still be more things to do, like maybe, like cosmetics or something like that. So the venture system and the venture page and the abilities that you're unlocking, that's a whole new system in the game. So when they talked about it in the dev stream, they described it as something that they can build on and maybe do more of these in the future. But Bessi's the first one. There's the little story. There's her abilities. She's cute. As you level her up and give her more abilities, she also changes cosmetically. Like I gave her a tanking ability and she actually got like a shoulder, like this shoulder armor thing just on one side. So she'll get cosmetically changing as you progress. She'll get better abilities as you progress. She'll be better at her job as you progress. And it's cute and fun and casual and do it when you want. Couple caveats, couple downsides I can think of, but now that I've sort of laid it out for you, Sema, any questions or first impressions on the system of dealing with Bessi? And then I'll talk about maybe what some
I appreciate the advice of, the warning that, some combat might be a little difficult, or I don't know if difficult's the right word, but you might need to learn how to do it in a conservative way so you can be successful.
Yes. And yes, straight up difficult, especially if you're taking like a heroic. Definitely straight up difficult. Imagine taking the worst companion you have. Not only is it influence 1, but turn off its abilities and then trying to do a heroic. It's almost like doing it without a companion. And that can get dicey depending on your role and your ability and your skills.
I wonder if that counts as killing things without a companion.
Good question. I would bet it doesn't, because she definitely counts as a companion. I mean, she acts like she's still there as a companion on the companion bar in the companion window on the lower left.
Right.
She just has only one ability to start. But you very quickly get the first couple abilities. If 2 people have the same heroic for Bessi, can they do the heroic together? Good question, Eflux. I don't know. I would bet that you can, because it just says go do the heroic. You do need to unlock Bessi and then go pick up the heroic. Don't try to go pick up a whole bunch of heroics and then pick up Bessi. You also, pro tip, you need Bessi out when the heroic completes or when you turn it in. And I screwed this up twice in the last week. I have been mounted, and in certain, a lot of heroics just complete automatically these days. A couple of them, like on Yavin in particular, a couple of them you still turn in the heroic at a quest giver.
Right.
I'm mounted. I'm running up to the quest giver. I click on the quest giver and turn it in. I'm still mounted. Bessi is not there. It doesn't count. So they either should fix that or just, she's not there. You should just dismount. Just remember to dismount when you're turning it in. Remember to have her out and not be mounted when you're completing the heroic as well. For whatever reason. But I bet it would work if you both had the same ones. The problem is it's relatively random, and I've seen many planets so far when I've gotten the 2 for the day. So it's remember, it's a role. So that's not, I guess, as much of a problem as the planet. And I've seen Kessen's Landing, Runic, Manan, Meksha, Yavin. That's all I've seen so far. I've only done it maybe like 4 or 5 days so far.
I mean, you could actually do it the other way, where your buddy just comes with you and with whatever companion, and then you do the same for them.
Yes, you could just help each other out. Absolutely. And I know you could do that. Because if there's other people out there killing stuff, that counts too. You're just completing a heroic at that point. You just need to have Bessi as your companion. The other little downside, you only get Bessi for an hour. And TikTok, there is a timer on that. When you log out, the timer stops. So that's nice. But if you're trying to finish up a heroic and you only have 30 seconds left on the timer and you don't finish it, Bessi will disappear. Blink, she's gone. So I think you could just go back and get her out again. But remember, each time you get her, that hour chunk, you're spending a memory chip. Now, it's very easy to get 10 because it's a legacy currency. So you could just log in 10 characters at the beginning of the week and get all 10 for the week and have them banked. But you still only then get to bring her out 10 times maximum. Or you need to spend a memory chip. You could actually have 20 of them banked, but you can only get a maximum of 10 per week. But yeah, you're limited to having to spend a memory chip for each hour that you're bringing her out. You
I really need to get started on this. It actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I said it that way, but it does sound cool.
It's a definite kind of coffee and contemplation activity. And one of the things that it makes me think of is I would prefer that Spring Festival was not going on. And for this to be a thing to be able to do when I've got and you could do that. You could wait.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all right now. You could wait for slow time. I've been playing a bunch of different games lately, and a lot of different games have a lot of things to do, a lot of events and a lot of dailies. I think last week talking about Fallout 76, which has been sort of like overlapping events, and they have dailies and they have their reward track. And it's heavy. It's a lot. However, that's not very many people play games like I play games, where I'm like doing dailies and daily missions and daily logins in like 4 games a day. If you're playing Star Wars: The Old Republic as your main or maybe your only game, and you're just, maybe only playing it, 4 or 5 days a week, to have like a little event or a daily or a thing to do, I do like that for any game that I play. I'm now getting to the point where if I do play any kind of game that doesn't have a daily or a battle pass, for better or for worse, I like battle passes. I like dailies. So Starfield, you don't have that in Starfield, and I miss it. I miss just going in there and having something pop up and say, hey, here's a fun thing you could go do, and you'll get a little reward for doing it. And instead having to make my own fun, there's definite value in that. And Starfield's a very story-driven game, but I like the persistent universes where it gives you a little something to do. The fact that there's 5 currencies have been added to the game in your currencies tab for this, I found a little confusing. And if
do you mean just for this
yes.
bit, the Bessi part? Okay.
Yeah. So the memory chip is a currency. So that's how you bring Bessi out. And then there's the 3 currencies for each of the roles, and that's how you're unlocking the role. And then there's the generic general currency, which is also another currency that you need to unlock the ability. So you need like 50 tanking tokens and 50 general tokens, and then you unlock her next tanking ability. So that's 4 of the ability unlocking currencies and the memory chip, which is the pulling her out currency. So that's 5. I don't prefer that as a user interface. I think the venture page, the way it's set up and the way the ability progression kind of is laid out, I think that's fine. I kind of think it would have been more effective and probably easier to understand if it was almost sort of like a battle pass reward track. And maybe you still need, you can't pass this milestone until you do a tanking thing, and you can't pass this milestone until you do a DPS thing. So it would still be all of the same effort, all of the same things. But if it was sort of like laid out in a linear track, and then you wouldn't have to have any currencies or any of that kind of stuff, I think it would both be much more understandable for players, and easier to engage with. I was confused the first day when I started looking at the system and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I'll say that. But it's not terrible. But you do need to get into it a little bit to see what's going on, and understand that the ability costs are going to increase over time too. And this is a long-term venture. So yeah. So that's it. And she's fun and cute. Her animations are really good. But the Bessi droid.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. I like that it doesn't expire. I like that we can take however long we want.
Yes. I think that is
I can totally see from my playstyle that one day I'd be all like, yeah, I want to do Bessi stuff today. And another day I'd be like, I just have to do the minimum because I'm going to, do this other thing or whatever. Or it's a raid night or whatever. And I just can only get some things in.
Right. But it's not like you have to do as much as you're going to do within the next 20 days. And then, if you haven't unlocked Bessi by the end of 28 days, you miss out. FOMO.
I guess
that would be a bad approach.
I guess in a sense, though, the hour does expire eventually.
Yeah. Although I can see needing some sort of limit because they don't want you to have Bessi as a full-time companion because you need to earn her as a companion. So they have to limit it somehow.
Right.
So I can't offhand. Maybe there's another approach. Offhand, I can't think of an easier way to do that. But I think that's okay.
When you log in for the first time in a week, you get 10.
You get
chips?
1 per day per character. But
if you logged in 10,
if you logged in 10 characters and they don't ever have had to go to Runic before, you could log in 10 characters on Tuesday morning and get 10 tokens, which is your limit for the week. And then they're banked in your currency tab.
But you have to start the venture.
Then you spend a character. Well, starting the venture is just talking to Lane.
Right. I'm just saying you have to do that, though. Because, I'm not getting chips.
Well, yeah. Because, that's where you get the chips. You have to go into Lane's lab to get to click on the thing to get the chip. There's no other way to get chips. You don't just get them. They don't just appear in your currency tab per day or something like that.
If you're just glumphing along and you get your chip on day 1 and you run out of the hour, then you have to wait till the next day unless you have multiple characters.
Yes, although I think you get 2 on the first day. But yeah. But yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I can see just from an overview, it's easy for me to say, well, 10 hours a week is going to be enough for me to spend time doing this. I won't feel...
If you only had 1 character and you weren't that familiar and you used your couple, your couple tokens, then you might run out of tokens. I don't think any of us that have multiple characters and know how to do dailies and weeklies will run out of tokens. So Kogas, hey Kogas in the chat room says, trick is get as many missions completed in that 1 hour. If you're used to doing them and you've got it little worked out, and I've started a spreadsheet for how to do a heroic and a daily and get it done in a fast amount of time. When I did my hour with Bessi this morning, I did 2 rolls on 2 planets and I got it all done in 25 minutes. So that was 4 dailies and a heroic with each of them. And then I still had time left over. I could come back tonight and still log back in on that character. Bessi will still be there. And I could and I've got more of the chore tokens, I could do even more within that hour. I could probably get by with just, like 2 hours or 3 hours a week and cap, because you also have a weekly cap on how much of the currency that you can earn.
Yeah.
So you could hit your weekly cap probably in 2 to 3 hours. And you start to get really used to it and used to all the dailies. And maybe you could do it in an hour and a half or 2 hours a week and get it all done and hit the maximum cap you could possibly do on Bessi each week. Yeah,
so you really
weekly
don't have to worry.
No, you don't. There is this vendor which will give you additional training modules as well that you can spend currency for. I don't know why you would spend those, because you do. Each time you bring Bessi out, you get 2. You could run out though. Yeah, like me, I'm doing a whole bunch within the week. So maybe I would run out. There's 6 of the currency modules that you could buy. So if I ran out of training modules, I could buy a tank, a DPS, or a healing module, and that'll probably give you 2 planets each for each of those. And then there's 3 that just say training module, and nobody knows what those are. The speculation is the one that just say training module are a random selection of a role on a planet, but we don't know. Oh, there's a little trick. If you're at the weekly cap, you could still complete another training module, but not accept. So say, on Monday night, you have 99 of 100 of the weekly cap for the tanking currency. You could complete another tanking mission, but not accept the reward until the weekly reset, because then your weekly cap on the currency is lifted. However, I don't think there's any reason to worry about it from that perspective, unless you're going to go on vacation or something and just
you don't have a lot of time the following week, and you know what
you
ahead
want
of
it
time
banked.
could work out for you.
And that's only if you're like racing your friends and you want to get Bessi unlocked as the earliest possible in the 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever's possible. Again, there's no end date on this. So if you have to go on vacation, you go on vacation for a month, you're not missing out. You'll just have it a little bit later, but you just that's fine. It's a thing to do.
So does she have affection like other companions?
She does. I don't know. I forgot to look. I don't know if it increases while she's in this training mode, but she does have, I think she starts as influence 1. I don't know if you can increase her influence in any way. I don't think you can until she's fully unlocked, but then I expect that you'll be able to get her to influence 50. So those are our systems. We have the story, which we'll talk about next week. We have Bessi, the basilisk droid, which is really fun. And we have the Springfest. This is the second week out of 4 of the Springfest. So remember, go back and do that. That's fun. And then finish up Bessi. It's a fun thing. All right. I think that's enough for Star Wars. Let's finish it up with maybe a few minutes of what else we've been doing.
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boy.
No way. God, finally.
I kind of like the maggoty bread.
I mean, I do miss the maggoty bread.
Yes. I've heard you've been munching some maggoty bread in WoW Classic Cataclysm raiding.
Yes, we went raiding last weekend.
Have you unlocked the group maggoty bread? That then the maggoty bread feast.
So one of the things I forgot about Cataclysm is when they introduced guild achievements. I don't know if they introduced guild achievements, but they really leaned into guild achievements if it were not introduced. And so in order to learn the feast that you would use, that you put on for your raid, your guild has to fish up 10,000 fish.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of fish.
Yeah. Especially for for like a classic guild, like just a few people that have gotten back together specifically for classic. The old school big WoW guilds that were around for years and years and years. It was like AIE got it done in like a week.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
And like to learn the cauldron, it's you have to make, I don't know what the number is, but say 5,000. It's a huge number, 5,000 flasks. And at least with fishing, it's just time. Well, I don't know about that, but it is just time. Whereas with making flasks, you just need a lot of herbs. So it's also time
Yeah.
or money or gold. But yeah, so this last weekend, so Cataclysm has been around for 2 weeks now. This last weekend, they opened the first raids, which there are 3 of them. And as a raid team, we went into one of them thinking that, we don't have our gear together yet. This might be, an impossible task, but we'll take a look at it. And if it's not working out, then we'll go do something else for our raid night. But we did kill 4 bosses, which when we killed the first one, I was just floored. And then we did the second, third, and the 4th boss, and it was just really, really fun. And then the last boss of the instance, we were doing Blackrock Descent, which is I never raided in there before. But the last boss in there, we got to probably down to about 12%, but that was towards the end of the evening. So we didn't get the last boss, but we are counting that as a huge success.
Yeah, that's a huge success. I wonder, I think I did do the first boss in this, but maybe only the first boss with a group. Or like worked on it for a month. I don't even know if we got it down. But I seem to remember that fight. But maybe
But
it was
what you were
something else.
saying about the not having things to do, because like since we are where we are in the X pack, I only have one character at max level. I mean, plenty of people have more than one, but I only have one. And once I do the certain things that are on my list, I'm kind of like, now what do I do? Because
Yeah.
I'm not really in the mindset of like I want to just grab another character and start leveling again.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, I feel that sort of like that hole when you're like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I guess I'll go do the dishes.
Now I have to use my brain and make up a story, which again, that's a different way to play the game, and it can be really, really fun.
Yep.
But then you need to like create a situation for yourself. What like you said, start a new character, or maybe I'm going to level up a profession, or I'm going to go bang my head against the wall with archaeology to give myself tears that way, or whatever. Yeah.
But during the week we run our heroics. So by running the heroics, you get some currency so that you can buy raid gear too. So this week we'll have more gear than we had last week. I saw you showing some of the footage from the 1-5 man down there in Oldham that happens up in the sky, and that had one boss in there. I mean, we had no trouble with it, but I could not see it. It's like when the wind is going a certain way, you have to be in a different place, and they call it upwind and downwind, and I could just not conceptualize that. So I just would try to go where everyone else was going, but I did not understand it. I could not see it. I can see the wind going, and I could see it changing directions. And when you're in the wrong wind, then you're slowed. So I could tell when it was happening, and I could tell when it wasn't happening, and I could see it happening, but I could not get the upwind, downwind, like where to go when I was in it. It was just funny.
So I see a player, I see in this video here of them doing it, and they have the screen scrolled out so far that your character's a tiny little ant, and you still can't see the whole boss.
Right.
So it's
right.
It's crazy. So I mean, like now I can see this wind and how it's like rotating around, and you need to like be running behind the boss, and you got a bunch of people lined up in front there. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know.
I think actually, yeah. And I mean, if you just avoid the cyclones and get behind the boss, if it was just that, if that's all they said, I would have gotten it. It's just like, well, which way is upwind? I don't get that.
Yeah, go upwind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was fine. Everyone else did it fine, and
we're all fine here. How are you?
Yeah. So it wasn't a disaster. I was a disaster, but it didn't make that fight into a disaster.
But that's so fun to have a group that sort of comes together when new content comes out and knocks it down. It really speaks highly of you and your team to be able to, day one, get through day one of
And they
trying
were
it.
trying
get
to
through a bunch of
explain it
stuff.
to me too. They were so patient, and I was just like, okay, I have to just think about it later, because at that point the boss was dead and we were going on to the next one. But have you ever had that where your mind just goes, nope?
Yeah, well, especially when there's like nothing visually to help explain it too. I could
And
definitely see
something
that.
trying to
And
kill you at the same
and
time.
upwind, downwind, and there's a north wind. In real life is always weird. Like if there's a north wind, does that mean the wind is blowing towards the north, or it's coming from the north and it's blowing south? And if I'm facing south and it's a north wind, it will be at my back or at my face. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, and you actually go outside.
Yeah. That always seemed weird to me. Like the wind is coming from the north, then I get it. But still, you need to like orient in your head. Okay, if the wind is coming from the north, that means the wind is blowing south, right? Why don't you just say the wind's blowing south? I think that's what you mean. Yeah, I don't know. It's still conceptual. I'm very good spatially and for 3D orienting myself in the world, but that one for whatever reason I
I'm
find
very
weird.
good orienting myself in the real world, but in the video game world, I do have challenges with orientation. And like
Right,
you said,
right.
when the top of the boss is, you can't see the top of the boss. It's actually hard to tell what's behind the boss or not, right? When the
Right.
head's not there, or when there's an effect that's
What
coming
is
from
the
the head, like a
like
spew or
looking at
something.
this right here? I've got a bunch of crap on my screen. Everything's a blur. My character is an ant. I don't know which way I'm facing. I don't know which way the boss is facing. And you want to tell me to go, oh, just go over there.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna die. How about that? I'm gonna lay down here and take a little nap and make a sandwich. That sounds good to me.
But yeah, so that is a fun way to get your currency that you need for gears. You play with your friends and you do weird things that make no sense to you, but they're fine with it.
Yeah. Speaking of No Man's Sky, and no, I'm typing it in to try to get a video up here. Speaking of battle passes, we mentioned that the No Man's Sky expedition dropped. What expedition was it? Is it 13? Expedition 13? Adrift expedition. Yes, it is No Man's Sky Adrift. I finished it. So that's another one of those situations where I say I like having something to do. I like having sort of being led along. I've also always talked about No Man's Sky having one of the best systems for that. So that's something I did in the past week as I finished the No Man's Sky expedition. It gives you 5 sets of objectives, 8 objectives per page of the 5 pages, and you're also traveling throughout the galaxy in a way, going from rendezvous, one rendezvous point on a planet for each of those places. This is a little bit of a weird one. We don't need to get into too much detail on it, because you start out almost like in a parallel universe where there are no NPCs. There's very few NPCs anyway, but there's no NPCs. Everything's sort of like dead, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you're trying to make progress, but you don't have vendors, you don't have ships to fly, like pirates to go shoot down to get extra resources. You sort of have to think laterally to figure out how to make progress, because everything's dead and there's not stuff you can buy, there's no vendors to talk to, there's no missions you can do from NPCs, there's no nanites you can go trade in. You even go to like the Nexus, which is sort of like the between the galaxies and a place, it's a hub for multiplayer, and all of the vendors that are usually there are gone. So it was a little bit weird, but it was fun to think laterally and try to figure out how to complete it. So yeah, it's just another one of those having a system in the game like a battle pass that leads you through it. I think that's a cool way for games to work. And then the other game that I've been doing that in the past week is Fallout 76 still as well. I did mention that I was almost getting fatigued by how much there was to do, like dailies and weeklies and events and Battle Pass in Fallout 76. One of the events did wrap up, so Meat Week wrapped up, and I took that as an opportunity to do a little bit more of the story. So I am now a general in the U.S. Army in Fallout 76 world. So
The U.S. Army.
yes, the U.S. Army doesn't exist anymore, but there's an AI that's still running a bunker, which is called where the Enclave was operating out of. And the Enclave, if you actually watched the Fallout show,
I did.
the scientist in the very beginning, he's at an Enclave site. So the Enclave was sort of like a governmental, cross-governmental globalist organization that was sort of like guiding and running all of the world governments before the fall. They still exist in the post-apocalyptic world as well, to some degree. This Enclave bunker, though, in Fallout 76 is empty except for an AI and a bunch of robots that runs, and the AI called Modus is broken down. So it's cool. It's got a really cool story, and you're talking to the AI, and he's weird and cool, and wants you to help him out, and then you're going to get rewarded by doing that. But he wants to sort of like become more fully back online. He was sort of disrupted in infighting in the Enclave that broke a bunch of things down, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that you get to do, though, as part of this is you, through the automated systems that still exist, and he doesn't have full access to just do it for you, but you can enroll in the military and you can do things that will actually increase your rank in the military until you get up to general. And then when you get up to general, you can get the ability, you unlock some ability to buy some interesting equipment and unlock a final quest, which gives you the ability to launch nuclear weapons. And when you launch nuclear weapons, that's an important part of the Fallout 76 world, because you are launching a nuke and you will kill anybody that's in that area. But big alarms go off for all players that are on the server saying, hey, there's a nuke in this area. You might want to get out of here. But that also spawns world bosses when you launch a nuke. It also irradiates the whole area for a set amount of time, which changes the resources in that area to be special resources that you can then go gather and stabilize on your chemistry bench and use for high-end crafting. So there's reasons you want to be launching nukes. It's useful for everybody on the server, but you need to become a general, and you need to enroll in the military and do little drills and go on little missions and do a bunch of stuff. So I did that. I became a general, and I haven't finished my I haven't launched my first nuke yet, but I may do that before long. It may be coming, because somebody's got to. It's got to be done, Sema. It's got to be done. And a little bit of E-Rising. So that's that one. There's no battle pass, but the whole game itself is almost like a battle pass, because all of the bosses are in tiers, and there's 4 major acts of bosses, which sort of are all connected. And each boss you kill unlocks either abilities or a higher tier of gear or a higher tier of weapons. I've completed all of Act 3 out of 4. So I'm now up around item level 67 out of 80. So I'm getting up there in V-Rising, and it's getting a little Souls-like on some of the fights. And if it gets too far, if I'm going to die more than, it goes up to 90, Forrester says. So Forrester's down to the last boss, the last couple bosses. But if I'm going to get down to where I'm like trying more than, maybe like 5 or 10 times, I'm probably going to be done. I'm not up for the I think Forster's been working on a boss for hours and hours on one of them towards the end there. I don't know if I've got it in me to go that far. I'll just watch the YouTube video and see what it looks like. Because that's it. I mean, maybe I won't kill that boss, but it's not like I don't get to, like I wouldn't, the point is that's the end of the journey. So if I didn't do that last thing, it's not like I would miss out and not be able to do something else. I wouldn't feel bad about stopping at that point. And I didn't when it was in early access. There were a couple of like these major world bosses I didn't kill. Anyway, fun stuff there as well. I like how that whole game is sort of designed as the chain of events, as the path it leads you through. Games, I think that's a valuable game design to lead a player through that organically still provide agency to be able to like do, grind on the side and do little things and play within the system, but then be led through the progression in a logical, organic, discoverable, but well illustrated way. So there we go. There's my little rant on game design. All right. Anything else before we wrap up for today, Sema?
I don't think so. I mean, yes, but no.
I think that was plenty. I think next week we'll circle back and talk a little bit about Sahar and the shenanigans that she's got us up to in the story, and maybe a little bit about the Acolyte. But I think that's it for today. All the feed and subscribe links, as usual, are on newoverlords.com, and our videos up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can see all the progress and notes and tips that we're exchanging on Fallout 76 and SWTOR and V-Rising and Starfield. You can also follow on all the social networks, and I'll keep you up to date on when our podcast is going live and when it gets published to the feeds. And with that, we will talk to all of you soon.
Later, everyone.